Hello, dear men, you great patriots, you great heroes who came to be our policemen and our protectors of the border and our wondrous heroes helping during disasters. I'm here with a very strong message for you. It's time to rebel. I know that you've been trained. You've been trained to obey and take orders from the higher ups above. But now you're going to need to take those orders from the higher above that is spiritual, from the higher order of real principles of loving kindness. Believe me, you're going to be very glad you did. And whatever way that you can rebel, if it's quitting your job, if it's saying, no, I won't be used as a pawn. Because the thing is, this idea of our people here, these wonderful people everywhere, simply because they're of color or their documentation is in process, being used as pawns and put in alligator camps and such, that's human trafficking. And that's what you are being asked to be part of now. So if you came to Earth as a hero to help this world through protecting and defending us, you mustn't become part of this. You mustn't take the blood money. You know, they are having a really hard time getting people to sign up for ICE and be willing to do these heinous acts. And so now they're drafting the many people who are on disaster relief for all these climate change catastrophes. They're stealing those people from the fires and flood relief to ask them to take this blood money, this $30,000, and then become brutal, and wear masks, because everybody knows if somebody finds out you've done this, you're ruining your reputation, your future, your career, your heart. Mainly it's your heart. I'm concerned about you also because you came, if you took a job as a police officer or any one of these positions, you came as a hero. Your intention was to be a protector and a provider for protector of the women and the children. And here you are taking little women off the street like they just did in Worcester, this tiny little beautiful Asian woman who had been a heart of that community as a cook, and then her daughters are screaming and crying in the street. You know, where are they going to put the children? This is not just human trafficking, this is also the way pedophiles groom their victims, is they abuse the mothers in front of them. So you're being drawn in by an entire ring of really hate-filled agenda, and your deeper calling is being thwarted because you're like, I want to do my job. I'm supposed to be a defender of the peace. So now everything's been turned upside down, where the peace is being destroyed by our basically a really hate-filled agenda that is in power right now. And you do have the freedom to say no. You can just say no. You cannot do what they say. You can take off your mask, sit down and pray in public. You can talk to your fellow agents and ask them, how can we subvert this? What information can we bring forward from those camps that people aren't being allowed to see? You can play a part. You can say, I will not take this money. I will not do this job one more day. Put me in jail if you have to. You can be a conscientious objector. But the thing is, it's worth it. You may be like, Eve, that's a lot of trouble. And how do you know? Well, look, the higher power of heart can be felt. The wisdom of the king. You came to follow the king, right? you were going to be taking orders. But the thing is, when they want you to be robotic, the whole word ice is another hypnosis. Ice is cold. It's without heart. And they assume that you want to be a robot, that you think this is okay, that this is a good way to be a great warrior. But the greatest warriors had heart. Did you know that? They had great passion. That's what gave them their, and then the warrior activities they were part of benefited society instead of simply destroying life. Here's a fairy tale that will help you. This is a really good way to look at this. Once upon a time, there was a little boy named Kay, and his best friend Gerta and him were in love. They visited each other on the garrets of their houses. The roses that grew on the rooftops had little balconies where they could cross a little bridge to each other. But winter came, and one day, the two were out playing when up in the sky there were these really hate-filled once upon a time angels who had fallen and fallen into the hands of Satan. And they were jealous of the beauty and the joy of the angels and the freedom of a truly democratic society where the angels lived. And they were like, let's play a trick on them. Let's make this mirror that is so full of hate that when we put it up to anybody's face, they believe that they're ugly. They believe they have no heart, no freedom, no strength, no goodness, and that they are just evil like us. And they bring their mirror up to the angels. We're going to destroy their faith in themselves. But what happens is when the mirror sees, when the angels of love look in that hate mirror, they can't see hate. They see love, they see beauty, and the mirror shatters. But the mirror falls to earth, and all of these slivers of hate-filled consciousness are flying about the earth from Satan's agenda to make people hate themselves. And one of those slivers gets in the little boy's eye, little Kay, and suddenly he's hating everything. He hates himself. He hates his clothes. He hates Gerta. He hates the town. He has no sense of why anything matters. He's throwing little tantrums, and because he's entered that state of mind of self-hate and hatred of the world, he's vulnerable now to be taken by the Ice Queen. So the Snow Queen comes in her sled, and she's like, great, anybody who's full of enough hate and coldness is right in my vibration. And she kidnaps him. This is what's happening. As they ask you to kidnap others, your soul is being kidnapped, and you're getting possessed by an evil agenda, an evil entity that you need to spit out and deny. But Kay is just a little boy. He's in the Snow Queen's sled. He doesn't know how to depossess himself. He's in the clutches of this big queen, and I know you feel that way. You have this big king, this baby Donald Dump, who wants you to do his bidding, and the little Kay is feeling that fine about it because he's in a big sled now. He's in a big costume now. He's got a little king's crown of his own from the queen. He feels powerful. And she takes him to her castle, and the castle of ice is really cold. And she just dumps him there in the middle of this gigantic hall where he's freezing and cold, and there's no way back home, and he doesn't know why he's there. He can't remember who he is, and he enters a trance of numbness where he is just, not there, and sobbing and in and out of psychosis. Just like, imagine all of those warriors that were sent to California by Baby Dump, sent there with no food and no water to greet them, and no beds, made to sleep on the floor themselves. That's what happens to the little boy. There's no food, there's no water, and yet he's in limbo, existing in a nowhere's land. Well, little Gerda has seen the whole thing happen. She saw him suddenly change in the playground to this her very beloved best friend, to becoming cold and icy and wanting to hurt kids and hurt girls and hate girls. And so she's like, I am going to save him. She saw the Snow Queen take him away in her sled. So Gerda travels the world on many adventures, and it goes on and on to a witch's cabin where she becomes a slave there for a while. And eventually, though, through many travails, she finds a reindeer who will carry her on its back to the Snow Queen's castle. And through the ice and the snow and the torture, this girl of heart travels and travels until she gets into the castle. And there she finds her beloved Kay, unrecognizable, blue skin, cold eyes, trembling, having lost his humanity, his heart, having lost all of his sense of his goodness. And she runs over to him and she puts her arms around him and she's crying. And her tears from her love fall into his eyes as he's looking up at her. And that one tear that washes deep into his eye where the sliver of hate exists, it washes out the sliver of the self-hate, of the hateful consciousness from Satan. And the boy, suddenly, he starts to tremble in a new way. His heart is waking up. He's breathing again. His color flushes back. Gerda, is it you? Where have I been? And they hug each other and they cry. And then Gerda says, come quickly with me. And there is the reindeer waiting for them. They both jump on the reindeer's back and go gallivanting down the mountain through a long adventure home. And by the time they make it home, they are no longer children. They are grown up and they can marry each other. This is the hero's journey we're on. We have to retrieve each other from the Snow King's castle. We have to retrieve each other from the cold ice that has no meaning, no purpose, no goodness, no actual reason even for being. Ice can be melted with love. Let's take the hero's journey now and retrieve each other, retrieve our souls, warm our hearts, and just say no. No, I don't want the job. No, I don't want the money. No, this is not what my job is about. I'll do my job, but I won't do the part that's not my job. I give you full permission to follow your heart, to follow the higher love. Let's give each other permission to do the hard things, though, because actually following the heart, it's usually the harder path. It's usually the trail less followed or not followed at all. It's usually overgrown. It's an overgrown path that you have to bushwhack a bit. But that's an adventure. God will provide the way. Spirit will provide the way. Whatever your religion is, you don't need the money. Another way will be provided. No matter what you lose, you won't lose your integrity. You won't lose your soul. And you will join with a gigantic wave of awakening that's coming to us all now, where we stop going by outer authority, outer ideas of creating our country. We take the responsibility and the actions and the leadership roles. You If you quit now, you can be a leader later. But how are you going to be a leader later when you were part of kidnapping children and women and innocent workers off the street? How will you enter your leadership? You'll have this terrible dark secret to hide. So no, imagine your future. Imagine the future of you as a great leader, because of the hardship you face now, that you were willing to go through to do the right thing. Just say no. Blessings to you. This is Love Life with Eve.